And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Flying weather for the first day of June in the morning, Saturday. Areas of IFR possible for the North Slope on out to the Arctic coast, and better chance of some IFR here over the northern Bering Sea, right up the Bering Strait. They're kind of angling in toward Kotzebue, and southward there to the Pribilof Islands. Some IFR for Unalaska Island, the Alaska Peninsula, and Kodiak Island as well, and another area of IFR there for the eastern and northern southeast coast. Good VFR in the interior continues through tomorrow. Marginal VFR in the increase here with that moisture coming in from the southeast up into the North Gulf Coast and trying to work into the Copper River Basin as well as the Matanuska Valley with some IFR, western Prince William Sound, Whittier over to Portage in those areas, Passage Canal, and mostly marginal for the southeast coast and Gulf of Alaska, as well as Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay. Marginal VFR in areas of the North Slope and Arctic coast, and IFR here draped across the northern Bering Sea but staying off the coast. And then for the Sunday morning outlook here, we've got a band of IFR, a pretty good band IFR here from the western Aleutians cutting across the Pribilof Islands right on down to the Alaska Peninsula. Marginal VFR in the Gulf, Kodiak Island, Prince William Sound there, and eastern Copper River Basin. Now up into the Wrangell Mountains and over along the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range there, but the Susitna Valley, most of Cook Inlet VFR. Good VFR in the interior. IFR possible again Sunday morning for the North Slope and Arctic coast and areas up there. Marginal here off to the southeast. And then for the afternoon, look for some good VFR to break out over the inside waters of the Panhandle there with marginal VFR right along the coast. Barren Islands, Kodiak Island, marginal VFR. Rest of the interior all the way up to the North Slope, VFR. IFR eastern Arctic coast. And a big area of IFR out here over the central Bering Sea and most of the Aleutians just north of Unalaska Island there into the Pribilofs. Marginal VFR along and off the southwest coast. And for passes, again for Saturday, Anaktuvik and Adigan, VFR looking pretty good up that way for the Brooks Range. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR becoming marginal in the afternoon possibly, and that would be on the eastern approach of both passes. I think rainy will stay VFR the entire day, as will windy. Isabel and Metesta, VFR. And marginal VFR for Tanita, IFR for Portage, especially on the eastern entrance, but probably on both entrances. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Looking at the freezing levels, about 4,000 to 6,000 feet here along the North Gulf Coast, south central Alaska, and actually the southwest area, 6,000 feet over the interior, falling back to about 2,000 feet up along the Arctic coast there, central Arctic coast, big area, 2,000 foot freezing levels out over the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And icing, a band of possible icing here pushing up into the Pribilof Islands and the Alaska Peninsula, covering Kodiak Island here with all the heavier icing possibilities staying south of the Alaska Peninsula or way out there in the Bering Sea or off the southeast coast, just possible isolated moderate turbulence icing here. Again, for the Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, trying to slide into the southern Copper River Basin, but probably getting hung up in the Coast Range and across the Panhandle. That's where the best chance will be. And then for jet stream, high pressure aloft here at 33,000 feet over the central interior. And we've got light westerlies on the north side of that high and light easterlies to the south. A main jet well to the south here of the entire forecast area, except just grazing the Adak-Atka area there a little bit with maybe some 80 knot westerlies. And for 9,000 feet, west winds 40 knots for Adak and Atka, east 40 knots across the northern Bering Sea, high pressure, light winds in the interior with this low in the Gulf of Alaska, kind of the gradient there, putting a little bit of a squeeze on the atmosphere at 9,000 feet. So we got 50 knot winds blowing across the Kenai Peninsula. And at 3,000 feet, southeast 35 to 40 knot winds over the eastern Gulf of Alaska turn easterly here at 50 knots in across the Barren Islands, southern Kenai Peninsula area. Pretty light over the interior and some 45 knot northeasterlies clipping western St. Lawrence Island. Otherwise, the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians, pretty light. And from there, turbulence, nothing significant expected out here to the west or the north or the interior. About the only place any significant turbulence would be here would be from Fognac Island up into the eastern Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound over to maybe Yakutat or so.